Yes, this message is normally at 2 p.m. on Sundays Eastern Standard Time. It's 6 a.m. right now. Good morning, good day. So, ladies and gentlemen, why am I changing it up? What is Courtney doing? What is happening? If you're new here, if you're catching me at this time of the hour because you live somewhere that you've already been up for a while, well, hello, hello. So, and if you're catching this not at 2 p.m., you're like, whoa, what is she doing? Why is she changing it up? Well, there's vastly many reasons why. Many reasons why. So, if you're new here, I'm Courtney. Whoa. No. I am Courtney, host of the Stars of the Morning Light. I was picking cards from my Sacred Geometry deck, which I normally do on Sundays. Stars of the Morning Light, we talk about all things esoteric and mostly Akashic messages on Sundays for the week, for the collective, and the Emerald Tablets by Toth the Atlantean. And yes, my voice this morning is a little rough. All of me is a little rough. We're going to go into it because I am going to share an experiment that I took on for myself. No one knew about, not even my husband. Actually, no one knew about. I might have said things here and there, but normally when I run life experiments, life experience experiments, nobody knows about it. Yeah, I can be extremely private, but it's so to gain the understanding, right? The knowledge, the experience, understanding. Knowledge plus experience equals understanding. The height or depth to our understanding is wisdom. And that experiment ended yesterday. And so there's a lot going on with me right now as to, well, A, this message, but also a lot to talk to the collective about. Yes. So, hello, hello, hello. I'm moving a bit slower. I've been up since like 4 or something. It happens. You know, it happens. I normally like it. I just normally use it in a different way. So, ladies and gentlemen, you beautiful stars. Hello, hello. For quite a while now, we've been talking about what all of 2023 is going to look like. We're getting ourselves ready in January as to how to handle 2023. A lot of it we've been referencing because both sides of those out there communicating are using the term storms. Storm, singular, or storms, plural, of 2023. Okay, cool. So I'll go along with everybody else's jazz if that's the terms that they want to use. And I've been trying to say then, be in the eye of the storm. That we don't have to necessarily put ourselves into the storms, right? We can flow with them because it's kind of inevitable, right? We're a part of the collective. There is no separation. We can flow with them, but we don't have to be batted all around by all this storm. We can just be in the eye, cool, calm, and collective, right? Also, a lot of manifesting can happen there. So, before we get into that, and the actual message of be open, remember it was a whole lot of be open. How to thrive in the collective love is what we've been discussing in January. Well, that be open has a very large element to it of vulnerability. And I am so vulnerable at 6 in the morning. Oh, man. And maybe we'll watch the sunrise together, right? Yeah, that'll be lovely. So, my experiment, my lovelies, my experiment. I've said it in here that 2022 was extremely rough for many people. And yes, my voice is a little scratchy. I had a very long day yesterday. 2022 was very rough for many people. Even myself. Like, I could not keep up with what was going on, and I knew I would. So by probably by September, actually August, I kind of made a decision, but there was still a lot going on in September, so I was like, okay, somewhere in September-ish, I decided to run an experiment. Yay, right? The outcome to this experiment is absolutely horrible, by the way. But I need to do it. You know, those who are here to help the collective. Pardon me. I am really kind of beat up. Those who are here that are here to help the collective. Everybody's going through this grand awakening. Those who have already gone through a lot of it, it's time to level up even more for those. You know, your spiritual leaders, your this and that. Those who just walking around that understand that they're very much going to be locking into 5D. You know, getting very much. Well, they're just locking it in. So anyways, but the thing is that you can't help humanity if you lose your humanity. You know what I mean? You can't help it if you become so detached, which is what you have to do as you level up in consciousness. You do have to detach, and that's where I'm headed. I mean, grand detachment, right? I know it's going to be a thing for me for like the next 3 years. So I said, okay, you're going to have 3 years of massively having to work on detachment in a positive way, right? But detachment all the same. So take the next 3 months. I decided this in September, that before you fully kind of anchor into 5D, moving into 7 consciousness, because I had already been detaching a lot, I decided to go head first into what 3D is like for people. What 3D is like for people. So I spent the past 3 months doing all the stuff that I normally don't do. Not doing any of my meditation routine, physical routine, any of that. Literally trying to live like a standard, regular Joe on the street. I didn't do any manifesting, except I did in December. I did some instant manifestations in December because it was December, and by that point it had gotten so bad that I went, yeah, I gotta break my own rules for this experiment for a moment. But that's instant manifestation. But I didn't, do any of my moon manifesting. I didn't do any quote unquote real spiritual work. I started watching the news again, which I had stopped doing that in 2016. The relationships I started to form, or the ones that I had already been in, if any of them are listening, they can contest to this, that There's a whole lot of old school mentality coming out of my mouth. Whole lot of words coming out of my mouth that are not as healthy. That all ended yesterday, by the way. This is why I can talk about that. Thank God it ended. Oh my gosh. Why do I do this to myself? I do this to myself so I can better understand, so I can better grasp what it's really like for people out there who don't know. And before I go into really what that felt like, the experience, how horrible it actually is, I want everyone to know right now, you do not at all have to live that way. In 3D, the darkness, the fear, the low consciousness. At all. I did it out of choice so I could, before I start really detaching and leveling up even more consciousness is frequency, right? I did that so I could know how to serve even more so. So the results, gosh, oh my God. If I cry too, guys, do know yesterday I was in an event and I do Akashic readings, right? Of course, these are Akashic messages. In January, we just keep building on the first one in January. I don't believe I served those people as well as I normally would. I don't believe I served most of my clients, which were very few and far between, because I wasn't manifesting, right? I was actually trying to hustle, which I haven't done that in years, and it's horrible. We're going to talk about that for a minute. I don't believe I served them well enough, because remember, consciousness is frequency, and going to the Akashic, I have to match my frequency to that kind of stuff. I don't believe I served them as well as I could. I did better than, but I will tell you guys, after events, this is why I'm going to be doing the life skills via Edgar Casey, his life and readings and all sorts of stuff. If you spend an entire day in a different frequency like the Akashic, physically, it takes a toll. I will tell you immediately when you kind of come back to 3D, where we're all hanging out, you want to cry, headaches, stomach issues. It takes a toll because this 3D sucks. This is so low frequency. So I'm a little bit physically not well. So I spent 3 months though hanging out with y'all in 3D, trying to understand why is everybody in a bad mood. Oh, I get it, man. I get it, sir. I get it. Yep. So first, let's talk about I was trying to hustle instead of manifesting, because I said, okay, you're not gonna do any moon manifesting. Which, guys, I've got over 25 years doing that. I started working with the moon when I was 17. She called to me, and I was like, whoa, lady, what you got going on? I know exactly what she's got going on. I actually teach it. I'll be teaching it in person in Dalton, Georgia in February. I've been doing it forever, right? I got over 25 years of doing it. I stopped doing that. Occasionally I'd be like, hey mama, how you doing? But I really lived my life like just a normal, everyday person out there. So a normal everyday person out there, to pay their bills, do this, do that, it's a hustle. So I was like, okay. And the mentality of hustle is based out of need. It's based out of, holy crap. The just in those three and a half months or so, the amount of fear that was building in me from the news, from the hustle, from the constant feeling of lack due to hustling and not manifesting, then you're hustling out of the energy of lack and fear. It was horrible. I actually wanted to end it by November because I was like, this is horrible, but I allow my experiments to, because it was like, is this going to change ever? I needed to know how humanity does this. Like, it was the most exhausting thing it was just so exhausting. And it didn't work. I hate to tell you guys, hustle don't work. It does not work. You are constantly exhausted. You're not serving anyone, yourself or others. Everything's based out of lack and fear, to the point that more lack and fear was coming into my life because that's what I was thinking about. To the point that I got home yesterday, and I will share this. I'm being vulnerable because the message is really going to be about vulnerability. My bank account is actually in the negative. It has not been in the negative since I was an idiot, like 21-year-old, right? Like, that's not happened because it was a constant hustle. It's not working because the energy is not that way, okay? It was horrible. I'm not doing that anymore. Meaning, I also was not basing my decisions, like an average Joe doesn't, off of what brings me happiness. You know, we hear all these quote-unquote new age kind of concepts and blah, blah, blah. Follow your bliss. Follow your joy. Hustle has nothing to do with that. Hustle is, okay, I gotta do this because it might work out for me. Blah, blah, blah. You know, it's horrible. It was absolutely horrible. I'm doing stuff that I don't really want to be doing. And I'm not talking about yesterday was a good time, that was a good time. That's why the experiment was ending yesterday. But a whole lot of stuff, right? Because you're in a different mindset. You're in 3D. The concept of, you know, so many people say, and I'm not a follower of this. And I'm going to explain why. There's a ton of people out there that will say, just follow the energies, you know, the push-pull. And if it doesn't feel like something's working out for you, don't push. I understand that. But they attach it to this, allow the energies to just flow with them. You got, you know, what they interpret the flow of energy is also what spirit's leading them to. And that's not necessarily, trust me, I watch it all the time. I just also lived it. That's not necessarily so. Because why would you, as a sovereign human, why would I, unless I'm running an experiment, why would I choose, as a sovereign little baby God, because we all are, why would I choose, who is creation itself, me, why would I choose to allow the energy that actually flows through the collective to help me flow and make my decisions? That is, so I'm going to tell you guys, it doesn't work either. That's not great spirit. That's not. It's really not. The whole push-pull, polarity, duality, that's 3D. So if you go to create and there's pushback and pushback, that's 3D. You, as a sovereign being, as creation itself, are to overcome that. Good morning, Miss Chloe. It is early, baby girl. You are to overcome that. So in my experiment, though, good morning, sweetie, of these 3 months, I lived like that. I lived of, man, well, if there's pushback, maybe I just don't. Or if there's pushback, but yet I'm doing the hustling, so that means I push right through, instead of trying to create and manifest, just push right through, make it happen. Either of those still don't work in 3D. It was absolutely horrible and frustrating. The biggest word that was out of a lot of this experiment was frustration. Like I said, I wanted to end it by the beginning of December. I didn't even make it. I didn't even really want to make it 3 months. I mean, oh my gosh. Frustration, anger, sadness, all of it. So here's the deal. We, as creation, as our sovereign selves, we work with the energies. We don't work against them, but we work to overcome them. We work to create and know our power. To allow energies to just make the decisions, and we roll with them, kind of as I'm saying. Don't get into the mix of the storm. Don't just jump right in. Be in the eye. Flow with it as you are cool, calm, and collective, knowing and standing in your power. Those who just allow the energies to decide for them as to what they're doing, that's not going to work out, because that energy is still connected to a very collective body that is not at all, at least currently right now, beneficial. So that was another thing. Like I said, I started watching the news. I hadn't really watched the news since like 2016. I stopped watching the news. But I did for the past... I'll tell you, I didn't watch it as much as like most people probably do, like all day or whatever, because I literally can't do that. But I tuned in to what was going on in the world. That's the energy right now. Remember, we are creating. So that's why, guys, I can't... Here's the thing, like I was saying at the beginning. I apologize. My body is so having a hard time this morning. Like I woke up and almost threw up. I mean, like, after doing a full day of work like that in the Akashic, it is extremely hard on the body. Extremely hard. So my head, my nose, my stomach, my throat, all of it is messed up. And it's also because I hadn't done that in like 3 months. Because I occasionally went to the records when I was like, I gotta do this, but it was like, I took a lot of time to get there and do what I need to do. Because I was running this experiment, so I'm having even more of a time today, physically. So I apologize if, I kind of, the collective body, that energy, it can change. We are here to change it. But what I noticed out of my experiment that I did so I could better understand and help is the more I was, and we all know it, But it's interesting how you can put it out there in the world of, stop watching the news, stop doing this, stop doing that, start doing this. Very few people actually follow that. Very few people. I'm realizing that too. I was so ignorant to the imbalance of proportion as to how many people are actually demonstrating themselves into the 5D opposed to those who are still in 3D. I was actually very ignorant to that. This is why I run experiments. So we are still mostly, as a human consciousness, one body unit, made of singular consciousnesses, right? We are mostly still hanging out in 3D, big time. The news, whatever goes on here in the United States is the most wild, we are the Wild West. Like, what? We are the Wild West. I don't know what, like, I clearly jumped in at the wrong time. I couldn't even catch up to what was going on. Clearly, no wonder other countries are like, what goes on here? So, and I can laugh now, but watching it, it was like, what is this cluster F of insanity? Just the propulsion, the transmission of fear and confusion, and it was insanity. And then, of course, all sorts of stuff that's going on in other parts of the world. Good morning, Robert. Like Pakistan, pretty much flooding horribly. Of course, everything going on with Russia and Ukraine, everything, right? Stuff with China. I mean, I was watching the news, people. Like I said, I haven't done that since 2016 like that. Just to understand, what are these people living with in their consciousness, in their heart space? The result from not manifesting and going into hustle, the result of not watching the news and starting to watch the news, the result of in my communication with others and not doing my spiritual practices for about 3.5-ish months. Here's the outcome, folks. Like I said, because of the hustle, I noticed last night I got to see that my bank is actually in the negative for the first time in, I think that happened once when I was an idiot 21-year-old. Once. I am well into my 40s. It never happened. That's the hustle. That's the striving to get things done and make things happen based out of fear and lack. That's what hustle is. It was absolutely exhausting and horrible, to the point of tears, to the point of, holy crap, it works against you, to the point that you're now negative, which I'm not going to worry so much about, because last night, like I said, the experiment ended yesterday. So I am going to go into manifesting mode. Like, thank God, right? Thank God, because holy what? That is what hustle does. You don't have to do it. The watching the news, fear, manipulation, intense. Especially, like I said, the Wild West that us in the States live in. Holy cow. No wonder the rest of the world watches us. We are the best soap opera, man. We are nuts. All of it, and the conversations I was developing and having with people as just being Courtney of 3D. Like, I went full back into old school. I don't know anything. I'm just Courtney hanging out, right? You do work too much, Robert. Robert, who did take my moon manifesting class, who needs to sit with that material more. Robert, last night for us, and you still can do it right now, buddy. That is a super new moon. You can you can manifest, my friend. Remember, it's about being right sized, balanced. What are your cares and needs, right? Okay, so I'm speaking directly to Robert, of course, those who are listening. Um, all of that, and not doing any of my spiritual practices as much as I would often, um, to run this experiment. The result, and so this is what the standard, this is the standard out there. God. This is the standard then. Because I got to run my experiment to know what are humans living. Fear, self-doubt, worry, actual true lack then. Actual true lack. Mistrust, distrust, no trust. All of that began to close up my heart space. All of that. All of it. All of it, physically. So this is coming from somebody who's been living mostly in 5D for quite a long time, consciousness, and moving up in consciousness levels. I purposely chose to go and live in 3D for 3.5 months. Physically, I had a ton of headaches. Physically, my sinus issues have not cleared up and been going from okay to now it's bad again to okay to now, like they, for months. Tons of headaches. I have a headache right now. This is a little bit because of yesterday though. My eyes were not handling the LD lights, which, I mean, every morning my eyes were waking up scratchy and red because of the LD lights of electronics and lights, right? That I went through that. I went through the same thing of like not being able to handle the HD. I'm sorry, the HD, LD, whatever. I went through that in 2015, a little bit of 2016. The adjustment of, electronics and this, and it was as if my body went back to having to readjust to them, because I was in the 3D consciousness. It was really rough. It was physically. And also because of the hustle, you're more exhausted. Because of the worries and fears and the actual true lack that can happen based out of all this, keeps you up all night. So lack of sleep, headaches, I mean all sorts of stuff. Any bad habits that I might have, 3D just took over them. Man, I'm living in bad habits because now I'm exhausted and the anger, the frustration. I don't give an F. I'm just gonna do my bad habit. That is now as I see. This is why I do this. I'm not ever doing this again, though. I've decided. And we are going to get into the message. I needed to express this. Um, I need to express this to know that I do understand now. I understand more so now. I don't want to ever be that one that says, just do this, just do this, just do this, or have inspiration for others and give out that inspiration with not knowing what it is for them. But like I said at the very beginning, the next 3 years of my trajectory is to very much detach, like full on detach from the 3D. So I wanted to go back and understand humanity in that concept, in that 3D consciousness before I really do that, to better serve. Also, so you can see this now, January 2023. Not only did I do that so I could better serve, but then you can watch, you can follow, I will keep you posted as to the demonstration, manifestation of how you don't have to live like that. How no one has to live like that. No, I mean, no one. I say it all the time here, but I also know I'm in a screen. I also know you've never met me, like physically. I also know there's a lot of people saying a lot of stuff. I know this. So now I know it's also part of my job to fully demonstrate and manifest before you how you don't have to live like that. But I, in order to do that, had to go back and feel, live, experience, have the horrible outcomes that 3D do, that it does to everyone. So moving forward, because we're always moving onward and upwards to the sun, right? Moving forward, that is the goal, is for me to help demonstrate to others that we don't have to live in 3D, and how that looks, how that can feel, how you can manifest. Seriously, guys, I was in that experiment. I was living in the 3D, and yeah, of course, by December, I was like, God, this is the worst. This is the worst life ever. This literally was the worst life, because if you've been out of it for a long time and you jump right back in, it's like, oh my God, this is the most worst. But like I said, I live my life by manifesting and bartering. That's how I live my life. And we're going to talk about it today. It's how I live my life. So, not allowing myself to do that. By December, I knew, okay, the holiday is here. I did jump into having to instant manifest for at least that month. I kind of broke my own experiment for a moment. But that in itself, I can do that because I have over 2 decades manifesting. Over 2 decades. To the point that, yes, now I instant manifest because I know I am creation. So, if anything, January 2023, here at Stars of the Morning Light, the goal for this year, for one of the goals for me this year, is to show people how you don't have to live in it. How you don't. And the slippery slopes that are a part of a lot of the messages out there. The confusion that can happen, all of it, we're going to very much begin, all of us together, you, me, all of us, we're going to start truly standing in our power, knowing we are creation and we are part of all, there is no separation. Therefore, we can change the narrative, change, detach from the 3D as much as we want. Recreate. You know, we're this lovely earth that we live on. At any time, we can create anew. At any time. So, I wasn't, as I was running the experiment, I wanted to tell you guys, as I was running it, man, it was horrible. The self-doubt and the fear and the anger, God, it was horrible. Closing up my heart space more and more. Absolutely horrible. I wasn't sure if I was going to actually share it with all of you as I was going through it, because I was like, this is horrible. Why would you want to share this, Gordy? They already know it. But I decided yesterday, as the experiment ended last night, that I wanted to actually share it so you guys can now see when I flip right back into my natural state, which is not so much at 6 in the morning, but when I flip right back into my natural state and we can start demonstrating the greatness and the power, the great I am that is you, the great I am that is me. When we start demonstrating that, you can fully become aware, you can fully see. You know, oftentimes we do need someone else to demonstrate it for us so we can begin to trust again that it is possible. That it is possible. And it is. It's full on possible. I'm also saying this because with our message, how do you switch? Chloe just said, how do you switch back? Oh. I will tell you, Chloe, because it wasn't just like a day or two in 3D consciousness. Like, no, I made it like 3.5 months. I will be going into what is referred to as like hermit mode for a minute. I'm going to need at least 2 or 3 weeks of, and I'll still be here with you, of course, to fully do what I do. And if people would like, maybe I can share that experience with you as well. To take care of remember in our messages of January, it's take care of yourself, the we, your family unit, your tribe, and then community, right? So I have to go back to self. And all of very much my routine of quote unquote how you get your vibes up, quote unquote all of the good stuff, the meditation, think of so many people, especially in the soul tribe that listens here, you guys love the Antamis Karana. That is about study, meditation. You know, I gotta do that. And then service to others. You know, that's me, Chloe. It's basically me putting my pyramid back together. My emotional and mental, my physical and my spiritual. Because I will tell you, 3D pretty much collapsed my pyramid in almost days, it felt like. For anyone new here, a lot of my listeners know what that means to me. Guys, I even took my pyramid down in my house for this experiment. My pyramid hasn't even been up, meaning I haven't sat under my pyramid. I mean, I really took this legitimately and seriously so I could experience what others experience. It's that kind of mentality. The Ascended Master, the Christ consciousness would say, meet them where they're at. Meet them where they're at. And it's the kind of mentality of, oh man, I'm going to get in that ditch with you. I'm going to get in that ditch with you, that 3D ditch, and I'm going to help both of us to get back out. And I'm going to, so it was my last final big, I'm getting into that 3D ditch. Because I needed to understand what people really need. Where are they at? I mean, guys, I really live my life like so in another place that I didn't know there was actually that amount of fear. And so I feel kind of, even though in this channel is mostly inspiration, is mostly we can do it, this is, I understand that the majority of the people, fear overrides a whole lot of my words for them. I understand that now. So it was my final getting into the 3D ditch. And for those who listen here and those who are a part of Stars of the Morning Light, share, subscribe, enjoy, hit the like, please. Now we all need to get out of the ditch. That's what it was. But I will get in that ditch with you. I'm not just going to stand outside that ditch and go, come on, make a step. Put your hand in there. Put your hand here. You can do it. I'm not going to do that. No, I'm actually going to get in that damn ditch with you and hold you up. And I'm going to probably do it to everybody else. I'll hold you up. And then at the very end, I'm just going to jump out of that flipping ditch. So that's why I needed to do that. I needed to know what was the 3D ditch experience of for the collective currently. It's horrible. I can't get over how horrible. I mean, I will. I'm going to let it all go and do my thing and start manifesting again and living my life how Courtney lives her life and definitely not being 3D. But that is the mentality of why I did what I did. I will get in that ditch with you guys every time, and we will always get out. But all of us, both you and I, whoever, we're going to get out. Because that's not where humans should live. So, I speak on this though. For those who have been watching on Sundays, definitely that is normally at 2 p.m. Today I just had to go with the flow of what was going on with me. Our message lately has been a lot of all the storms people are talking about, quote unquote storms, right? Or storm. And here at Stars of Morning Light, we've been talking about being in the eye of the storm. To not jump into the storm and let that wind blow you all around like a crazy person, right? Which is what I experienced the last 3.5 months. That's why I was trying to say, please don't do that. It's horrible because once you start getting batted, whew, and propulsion gets taken into effect, cause and effect, you're being batted all around, and that's what I've experienced in a way, and it's going to be even worse in 2023 for others, so we don't have to choose to engage. We do not have to choose to engage. I made a conscious choice to engage. You can make the conscious choice to not engage, right? That's the point, and I'm not going to be engaging. But because we are still here, because we are a part of the collective, there is no separation, right? We gotta be somewhere. We gotta be somewhere. If there's all these storms moving around in 2023, we gotta be somewhere. And I don't suggest getting in a ditch, like we just talked about, because that's what you're told to do when a storm comes. Or going under and being all by yourself, because Aquarius is coming, and that's about community. Like I keep saying, you can't, nobody can handle the collective and how to heal and do for the collective because they don't even understand how to do it for their community. I really learned that they don't. That was heartbreaking. I might cry. That was heartbreaking. Because forever and ever I'm talking about the collective. Thank goodness. It's the energies are starting to shift for people to understand. Seriously, just help take care of your community first. So anyways, we don't want to go into the ditch, because that's like 3D living, seriously. We don't want to even go underground and not participate, because that's not going to serve you or serve anyone. You're not going to be able to be in the eye of the storm and have things fall from that storm right into your hands, as the shifting energy of manifestation is very much in people's favor in 2023. Things can just fall out of that storm into your hands. We also don't want to engage in the storm, because then you're going to just be blowing in the insanity of that wind all around. I kind of talked about that briefly at the beginning, because I allowed that process to happen too. That was absolutely horrible, to allow the collective energy to kind of bat me around and help me to make my decisions. I allowed that to happen. I'm such a crazy person. To understand this is what people do. They allow that collective storm to make their decisions instead of knowing they are the most powerful, great I am within. I am creation. I create. Instead of doing that, I'm going to let this energy that just bops me around to make my decisions. It was horrible. So we've been talking, and you also can't just like do. I'm in my house, or I'm where I am, and I'm kind of in denial that all these storms are around, because eventually it's going to hit you. And anybody who's ever been, like, I don't know, in tornadoes, I grew up everywhere I've ever lived. Tornadoes, right? Anyone who knows that, you can't really do that, because if it hits, you're done. If it hits, you're done. So, but what can we do? We can not do any of those scenarios that end in really bad results and outcomes, but we can be the eye of the storm. And we can learn how to thrive in the collective love. So the previous messages, as now I get into the actual message, the previous messages is to be in that eye. Move with the storm. Work with it, not against it. Be inside of it, cool, calm, and collective. I'm just walking. I'm just moving with it. It's not affecting me, except other people's junk can fall in my hand and it's prosperity for me. Or it might be other people's junk that's junk for you, and you toss it right back into the storm, right? Because we are all powerful. We are all knowing. We are the eye of the storm, and we see all. We see all. We are open. So a lot of the terms have been about being open. The first one that I'm just proposing that people... that I'm just proposing that people, all of us beautiful stars, you half-breeds, you children of men, you children of light, that we begin to because now knowing how bad it actually is for folks, I propose that we begin to possibly just think that a world, a life without fear is possible. That's what has to be proposed, I guess, right now. That to just begin thinking consciously that a life without fear is possible. And then from that, we try to start thinking of being open, to living a life without fear. We talked about this in previous videos. But we have to, and I talked in those as well, is that a lot of that is based on trust. And out of my 3.5-month experiment, for me, and I'm trying not to cry, guys. For me, I'm in the 3D consciousness that I was allowing myself to participate in. I really got to feel the effects of how collectively the lack of trust and the amount of fear is actually present. So lately, especially on my Patreon, I'm going to hold up the levels of consciousness chart so you can all see. Lately, I've been talking more to them about being in neutrality mindset, okay? Consciousness, just neutrality. That's part of being in the eye of the storm. Can you see all these storms and the storm that you're in? Just, can you see? Yeah, our eyes are open. But as an observer, especially a 5D consciousness observer, maybe watching you, and you now witnessing that, oh, I can be an observer. Being an observer is a part of being in the neutrality consciousness. That we can watch these storms happen, but we do not take it personal. We do not allow it to affect our decisions because we are creators. So I will hold this up because I want to show something to you. We go through this a lot on my Patreon. I am teaching tonight at 8 o'clock Eastern Standard Time about the observer. $5 a month, guys. I would subscribe because 2023 we're doing some stuff there. So this is the levels of consciousness chart. See, we are in like 4D dimensional thinking. This is all 3D, and I don't know, it's backwards for me, but I think it's coming out right for you. This is all 3D consciousness stuff. Anger, guilt, pride. We're going to talk about pride for a moment. Do you notice how pride, still in 3D, pride, courage, neutrality. We end up getting into neutrality and then willingness, I love it, and then acceptance, but we'll be talking about that some other time. You notice how there's pride here. You notice how pride, and this here, guys, so you know, is the frequency level. This is the hertz that are coming out of this, affecting others. Affecting others, because our actions affect others. Our frequency is our conscious level. Our vibrations is what happens like internally and goes out to others, right? And then how high your frequency can get is kind of like the bandwidth that can go out there. So imagine in anger, right? Where's anger? We're at 150. That is so low. That is so low. But what that also represents is that one person's anger can actually affect 150 other people in the collective. Yeah. And this is why we need to evolve our consciousness and get more into the 4D and then eventually up and up. Because when you start getting into the 5s and the 6, that vibration affects 600. And actually, when you get up to that, it starts multiplying. It's a much It's a lovely state to be. But right now, as we are in the eye of the storms, 2023, we're making a conscious decision right now. Right now, everybody here at Stars of the Morning Light, make a conscious decision, even if you don't know what it looks like, even if you don't exactly know how to do that. Stick with me. Let's try to at least make a conscious decision that we're going to do our best to at least be in the neutrality of things as an observer. That we're not going to base our decisions, we're not going to base our actions on action reaction based on the collective pride, anger, lower bar. But I do want to show you guys that. We tend to use the word pride a lot. Pride actually produces more separation. Pride is what tells us I'm right and you're wrong. And what's interesting, so we have anger right here, pride right here. The two are really, they're back to back. This shows people. And we use it so freely when we communicate. Then we have courage, and then we have neutrality. So what I propose, because a lot of people are in the anger. A lot of people are in the fear is even at 100, ladies and gentlemen. These all kind of go back and forth with each other. Fear, anger. Fear usually manifests itself into anger. What I propose, because pride is right next to anger, that's why, guys, that's why it is, it doesn't matter what the competition might be. It could be a football game, but we have so much pride for our team, right? It causes nothing but separation. And it really, think of all the stuff that happens with sports and all of our gladiators out there. If our team loses, we are angry. Right? Can I turn the sound up? Honey, that also just might be my voice. It's very early for... Oh, the sound up. That's about as best as I can do. I'll try to talk louder. My voice is very low, my dear. But thank you for asking. I hope that can help. I'll talk louder. So, find a little courage within you. Find a little courage to just make a little bit of a jump into neutrality at 250. Just a little bit of a jump. A little bit of a jump. You have earbuds in, Chloe? Yeah, my voice definitely in the morning is pretty low. Try to make, and I was speaking a little bit lower as well, because there's still a lot of people sleeping in the house. Try to find a little bit of courage to jump into neutrality. And that's why I'm saying let's propose to just start thinking, imagine, daydream, what would your life look like to live without fear? Grab a little bit of the harmony and peace in that, turn it into the courage to then jump into neutrality. That will start actually presenting to you a life not based out of fear. A life more as an observer. A life in the eye of the storm, walking just with it. Because we got to be a part of the collective in some way, shape, or form, right? And we watch. Our eyes are open. Be open. And we become more neutral. I am not right. You are not wrong. It is what it is until it's something else, right? For at least right now. For at least just right now, the next maybe 2 months or so. March might be a little bit of a different message. But look at that, going right across. The emotional state attached to neutrality, this is why I'm bringing this up, is trust. Is trust. In that neutral state, in that I'm not in anger anymore, I'm not actually in pride either. I took a little bit of courage inside to try to walk around in a neutral observer state of mind. In that, the trusting of yourself, developing the great I am within, trusting yourself slowly starts coming back. Trusting your family unit, your tribe, trusting those members a bit more comes back in. Then the community. So remember, that's where we're going. So in the neutral state is there to rebuild and establish trust. That is what is going to be needed for all of us to fully start relieving and knowing, experiencing, living a life open without fear. So I have to move on to the next open. If you, we talked about this in previous Sunday messages. Then the next Sunday message was about the bartering system. You know, being open to communicating with others of, hey, I've got this, you've got that, let's exchange, let's make it happen. So no one experiences lack, right? So no one, there's actually, everyone has so many resources, they just need to communicate with each other about it. That was a lot of the last episode. What I do want to emphasize in both of those, so today and tomorrow, and the reason I did all that talking at the beginning I did, in both of those, in 2023, open truly in many sense means being vulnerable. Our pride that we carry, our pride gets in the way of doing that. Our pride that's right above anger gets in the way of us doing that. And it's usually, we have to, they always say, lower your pride. Have a bit of courage to go out there and say, hey neighbor, do you have some eggs? I can give you some sugar. We have to become more vulnerable, right? But that's in the bartering system. You have to turn to somebody and say, I don't have what I need. What can we figure something out here? It is a lowering of the pride, the courage to ask for what you do need, right? So that's just simple, basic understanding of the last video in the, you have to become vulnerable. You have to lower the pride. You have to be open. The other sense of vulnerability, which we're going to talk about a little bit here, but this is mostly for also next Sunday. But I wanted to discuss my 3.5 month experiment. I did a lot at the beginning to lead us into a little bit of now and next Sunday. The concept of vulnerability is very difficult for people. We have now been so saturated for a very long time in the concept of me, mine, pride, looky here, right? And projecting an image of what we would like people to think we are instead of what we are. And I will tell you, I've said it a million times. I probably haven't said it here in a while. One of my favorite things that came out of 2020, which everybody's like, what? Something favorite came out of it? One of my favorite things that came out of 2020, and hands down, I still will say this, is it was actually, this is one thing that was there with the intention of the energy backing it to lead us into the need to be vulnerable now, okay? In 2020, when the lockdowns were happening, people with their jobs, people, friends, all sorts of stuff, we all started doing stuff this way. Zoom, right? We all had to start doing work, this way, and kids are in the house and dishes aren't done and you see the pile of laundry behind them. It was amazingly beautiful. It was amazingly beautiful because we can always post a picture that is the best filter we can find. We can always, when we leave the house, project something that is not our natural state. And 2020, all of the lenses came into our homes and stripped us of the projection of what we would like to be present and brought it back to we're all just human. We're all just, there's a pile of laundry behind me. We're all just human. So what? The kids started screaming, we're all just human. So what? You see what I mean? That was one of the most glorious things to see. That we got an opportunity to all just see within each other that we're all just human. We all live exactly how we live. Is it a mess sometimes? Yeah, it's a mess sometimes. Did we finally clean it up? We finally cleaned it up. It was so humbling for the collective. It was extremely humbling and beautiful in that way. That the acceptance there of us going, yeah, you're human, I'm human, it's okay, it's okay. Now we can take that experience, that part of the 2020 experience, and we can bring that into 2023. We can, because what people might have not have realized is it was stripping them a bit of the pride, a bit of the ego, a bit of what we perceive we need to be instead of just being. It was so beautiful to see. With that, we take that then into 2023. Because there's going to be another layer to that now. We're going to have to be vulnerable in to really be successful in the bartering system, you do have to be vulnerable, just so everybody knows. You also are going to have to be vulnerable to make connections, to have the experience of what 2023 will be. Because when you get vulnerable with yourself first, right? Then vulnerable with your family unit, tribe, then vulnerable with your community. All who are attached to your vulnerability will thrive. So many societies, and we're going to really talk about this more next week. So many societies, no matter if it's ancient civilizations, more modern, so many powers, societies are based off of power, are based off of rules and conditioning, and what 2020, like I just said, starts stripping away what we like to project out to the world. So many of those have crumbled throughout history, died away, because they were never willing in those societies, in those tribes. And I talked a bit about this in the last episode, more so with the resources and bartering. They never became vulnerable because it was always based on pride. It was always based on pride. They never got into the neutrality state. They will always fall. They will always fall. You have to become vulnerable in order to build trust. You have to. It's a part of it. How can you build trust with another being, build trust within yourself without truly stating what's going on, truly talking about what you feel and experience, truly sharing? It's not possible. It's really not possible. To build trust under a facade is all of these grand nations that have fallen. All of these powerful nations who have fallen. To build a whole new nation, a whole new world, a whole new mindset, levels of consciousness, the collective thriving in their love, requires vulnerability because it will build the trust. Difficult, very difficult, very, very difficult. But that's why I remind people, you already started it. You already started it in 2020. It was such an amazing thing to see that humans they remembered that we're all connected, we're all doing this together, and we're all just living and being as we are. And we accept, and you are beautiful as you are. We got to see it. We got to visibly get to see it. And it was amazing. Take that and start entering into, now we just got to bring it up a notch. Now it's got to be attached to our words. It can't be just sight. It has to be attached to our words. We're going to talk more about this next week. Be open. Be open. Open eyes. Eye of the storm. I see what's going on. I'm neutral. I'm neutral. I see what's going on. Open. Open to begin to believe you can live a life without fear. That's at least where we're at right now. Just believe you can. And be open to becoming more vulnerable. In that means to be known. To be known. Even with bartering, as we were talking about in the last episode, you have to let people know. I'm lacking this, or I have these skills and talents and gifts. What can we exchange here? Or I have this, and I've actually never really used it. I used it once, and I'm not ever going to use it. Can you use it? And what do you got for me? Be known. Also, be known of your struggles. There are people out there able and willing to help. This is building trust. Be known how you feel and think, how you truly feel and think. Because now the new age thing that's been going on has flipped things on its ear, or whatever the cliche is, has flipped things that it's as if it's uncool to say, yeah, I'm really afraid. It's uncool to say, I'm really scared. It's uncool to say, yeah, I didn't meditate today. I didn't do that stuff. I didn't do all my woo-woo. It's not cool to say that, right? But is it true? Is it what is actually happening with possibly you? I purposely chose not to do that to see what it would feel like for the rest of all the regular Joes on the street. I purposely did that because I also know in the New Age movement, there's a lot of imposters that are becoming the leaders. It's very scary. But also, which we also talked about that in the last video at the tail end of it, be weary of the spiritual leaders, have discernment, especially towards the end of 2023. But now, because it's not cool to actually be vulnerable and tell people, yeah, I really don't get a lot of this spiritual stuff. Do I want to? Yes, but I really don't get it. I don't even know where to begin or what to do or what to say. Because that's not cool to be vulnerable that way, we end up not saying it. And that's why I do love Robert, who's in the comments right now. Robert from Milky Way Soul Tribe. Robert, I want you to get on this program probably in the next few weeks because I do want to talk to you about how vulnerable you are. And it's an amazing thing to see. The strength in Robert's vulnerability is amazing. So that's the thing, guys, is that there's actual strength there. And realize the more that we speak what is really happening with us, the more we're connecting with each other on a very beautiful human experience level that also builds the trust. But it seems to not be cool anymore to be telling people, yeah, no, I really don't get it. I really don't get all this spiritual stuff. Like how Chloe just asked me, how do you go from living in the 3D because I jumped in the ditch with you guys for a while. How do you jump right back in? Chloe, I will be discussing that at some point in another video then for you. She asked the question, and I can't read all the chat right now. I will go back. Guys, start asking questions in the comments all over the place. Get it out there. Be true. Because true and trust are brother and sister with each other. So it starts there. And be known. That's why I did title this, Be Open, Be Known. Known really means that. Allow, even if it's only a couple of people, be known by them. Be known of your struggles. Be known of how you think and feel. Be known. And I plan on, like I said, going further with this in 2023. I am going to be demonstrating to everyone through transparency and vulnerability to you that we do not need to live in 3D at all. And I know the way to build that trust so others might attempt to experience it for themselves and gain that understanding and wisdom. I have to be transparent and vulnerable. I have to. So my willingness, I do want to jump to the chart again. So I'm asking everybody to start trying to be neutral right here to build trust. My willingness, right above there, is to show you guys my transparency and my vulnerability so you can grab the willingness to start it for yourselves. It's how it works. It's how us humans evolve. It really is. We learn and grow by communicating with each other. And it has to start. And it has to start with that pure, vulnerable, transparent self. We really do. That's how just how all the little cells in our brain are communicating with each other to make our bodies operate correctly and have the conscious levels that we do. All these little beautiful cells, right? They're all communicating with each other. The little neurons and electrons bouncing back and forth, zing, zing, boom, to help a baby grow into an adult. It's exactly how we work on a social level. All of us communicating, boom, 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 growing as a collective. It's exactly how it works. So next Sunday, we're going to be talking a lot about vulnerability. This message here was to present what I experienced with everyone and me trying to really emphasize, especially in the next few months, how we don't have to live in that. But it does start with make the conscious choice in 2023, starting now, to be in the eye of the storm, the great I am within you, the eye of the storm, eyes open, choosing not to engage, being neutral, just walking with the storm, cool, calm, and collective, right? The being open to living life without fear, being open to communicating your needs with others, like bartering, and now being open to be known. So that is our main topics here in January. And guys, this does come from the collective. They're I don't have it in front of me. I remember their title was open without expectations, which we've talked about expectations in previous videos. Be open without expectations, how to thrive in the collective love. That literally came from the Akashic. I'm basing it off of the 2023 Akashic message. There's just so many layers to it that we're still going. So next Sunday, probably yes at 2 p.m. because that's usually my standard, we're going to talk a lot about vulnerability. I didn't bring it up so much before. I know I paused in another video and said, oh, there's more to this openness, but it's coming. That's what it is. But take a moment to really think about that. You guys have already started. Everybody already started in 2020. Everybody already started with expressing their emotions, showing their vulnerability, and I got laundry behind me. Yeah, I'm a human. We already started. Now it's more in a logistical, logical, be vulnerable so you can grow. We were thrown into that vulnerability before. We were thrown into it. Nobody liked it. It was so uncomfortable, and we just kind of had to work with it. It was so uncomfortable. We already went through the uncomfortable stage then. Now, this is to help you, your home, your unit, and the community. Now we can take and use it for the greater good to build that trust, right? So, I love you all so dearly. Thank you for bearing with me at 6 a.m. in the morning. If you are new here, welcome. This is Stars of the Morning Light. We talk about a bunch of stuff esoterically. I mostly cover the Emerald Tablets by Totha Lantin on Friday at 11 a.m. There's a bunch of stuff that goes on here. A wonderful, great community. To those in the chat that I got to see today, Chloe, Robert, a few others, I think Coke Queen was here. You all are so beautiful. Thank you for being here. Please share. Please share. Hit the like button. Take that moment to, if you have questions, if you have thoughts about what was said here or even in other videos, leave something in the comments for me. I will definitely look into it and read them and probably do videos about it, because I'm learning that that's the best way I can address a lot of my DMs that I get and whatnot, is through just doing a video for it. So yeah, come and hang out with us. If you are interested in being a patron, the link is not in the description yet, but it is in either other videos, or it might be in the community page or in the about section. I'm not really sure. I do teach in Patreon twice a month, and there's some other cool stuff that goes on there. I'm teaching tonight actually at 8 p.m. and we're talking about what it is to be the observer and what that actually means dimensionally, consciously. How do we experience the observer consciousness, right? $5 or $8, guys. I don't break anybody's bank, so everybody can learn. You know, we want everybody to learn. So, you must read my mind. I know, Chloe, and you have the most beautiful mind. So I love you all dearly. I will see you guys later, definitely Friday, for the Emerald Tablets. We're almost done going through the first, the first full read of the tablets, and then we're going to be discussing themes. So if you have a theme out there, if you are used to being here at Stars of the Morning Light, if you have a theme to discuss for out of the tablets, I'm more than willing to take suggestions. So I love you all. Have a great Sunday, or whatever day it may be for you. It is possible. All is possible. All is possible. I love you all. Keep shining, stars. Namaste.